Laziness is often misunderstood as a simple lack of effort or a flaw in character, but in reality, it runs much deeper than that. What people call laziness is usually a response shaped by the brain to protect you from discomfort, stress, or uncertainty. Your mind is constantly trying to conserve energy and avoid situations that feel overwhelming or unrewarding. This means that when you delay tasks or avoid responsibility, it is not always because you do not care. It is often because your brain is choosing what feels safe and familiar over what requires effort and risk. At the core of laziness is the brain's natural preference for immediate comfort over long-term reward. When faced with a challenging task, your mind compares it to easier alternatives like scrolling on your phone or resting. The options provide quick satisfaction without much effort, so your brain leans toward them. This is not a conscious decision most of the time. It is an automatic process designed to minimize strain. Understanding this helps you see that laziness is not about weakness, but about how your brain is wired to function. Another important factor behind laziness is the feeling of overwhelm. When a task seems too large or complicated, your brain struggles to process where to begin. This creates mental resistance, which often leads to avoidance. Instead of starting, you delay, hoping the pressure will go away. But the longer you wait, the heavier the task feels, and the cycle continues. Breaking this cycle requires simplifying the task into smaller, manageable steps, so your brain no longer sees it as a threat. Fear also plays a significant role in what appears to be laziness. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of success can create hesitation. When you are afraid of the outcome, your brain tries to protect you by keeping you in your comfort zone. This can look like procrastination or lack of action, but it is actually a defense mechanism. Recognizing the fear behind your behavior allows you to address the real issue instead of labeling yourself as lazy. Your energy levels have a direct impact on your ability to take action. Poor sleep, lack of movement, and unhealthy habits can drain your mental and physical energy. When your energy is low, even simple tasks can feel exhausting. In this state, your brain naturally seeks rest and avoids effort. This is why improving your basic routines, such as sleep and nutrition, can significantly reduce feelings of laziness. It gives your brain the resources it needs to function effectively. The environment you are in also shapes your behavior more than you might realize. If you are surrounded by distractions or a lack of structure, it becomes easier to fall into patterns of inaction. Your brain responds to cues around you, so when your environment encourages comfort and passivity, you are more likely to follow that path. Creating a space that supports focus and productivity can make a noticeable difference in how you approach your tasks. One of the most effective ways to overcome laziness is to focus on starting rather than finishing. The hardest part of any task is often the beginning, because that is where resistance is strongest. Once you take the first step, your brain begins to adjust, and the task feels less intimidating. This is sometimes called the activation effect, where action reduces resistance. By committing to just a few minutes of effort, you can often build enough momentum to continue. Another powerful strategy is to build routines that reduce the need for decision-making. When you rely on motivation alone, you constantly have to decide whether to act, which can be exhausting. Routines remove this burden by turning actions into habits. When something becomes a habit, it requires less mental effort and feels more natural. This makes it easier to stay consistent, even on days when you do not feel particularly motivated. Rewarding progress is also important in retraining your brain. Since your mind is drawn to immediate gratification, you can use that to your advantage. By creating small rewards for completing tasks, you reinforce positive behavior. This helps your brain associate effort with satisfaction rather than discomfort. Over time, this shift makes it easier to engage in productive activities without as much resistance. It is also helpful to change the way you think about effort itself. Many people associate effort with struggle and discomfort, which makes them avoid it. But effort can also be seen as a path to growth and improvement. When you start viewing effort as something meaningful rather than something to escape, your relationship with work begins to change. This shift in perspective can reduce the mental resistance that leads to laziness. Self-awareness plays a crucial role in overcoming laziness. By paying attention to your patterns, you can identify what triggers your avoidance. It might be certain types of tasks, specific times of day, or particular emotional states. Once you understand these patterns, you can plan around them and create strategies to stay on track. This level of awareness gives you more control over your actions. It is important to be realistic about your expectations. Setting goals that are too ambitious can lead to burnout and increased avoidance. When your brain sees a goal as unattainable, it is less likely to engage with it. Instead, focus on achievable steps that gradually move you forward. This approach builds confidence and reduces the pressure that often leads to procrastination. Consistency is more effective than intensity when it comes to overcoming laziness. You do not need to make drastic changes overnight. Small, consistent actions can create lasting change over time. Each time you follow through on a task, you strengthen the habit of taking action. This gradually rewires your brain to favor productivity over avoidance. It is also important to recognize that rest is not the same as laziness. Your body and mind need time to recover, and taking breaks is a healthy part of maintaining productivity. The problem arises when rest turns into avoidance and prevents you from moving forward. Learning to balance rest and effort allows you to stay productive without feeling overwhelmed. Accountability can also make a significant difference in your ability to take action. When you share your goals with someone or track your progress, you create an external layer of responsibility. This can motivate you to stay consistent even when your internal drive is low. Knowing that someone else is aware of your efforts can encourage you to follow through. Ultimately, overcoming laziness is about understanding yourself and working with your brain rather than against it. It is not about forcing constant productivity or ignoring your needs. It is about creating systems, habits, and perspectives that make action easier and more natural. When you approach it this way, laziness becomes less of an obstacle and more of a signal that something needs to be adjusted. As you begin to apply these changes, you will notice that taking action becomes less difficult. Tasks that once felt overwhelming will start to feel manageable, and your confidence will grow with each step forward. Over time, the patterns that once held you back will lose their strength, and new habits will take their place. This transformation does not happen instantly, but with consistency and awareness, it becomes inevitable.